Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. In this episode, we're going to use the film Her as a case study to examine how mediated intimacy reshapes perception, identity, and our emotional lives.
So that's the big question we're digging into here. We're not going to get bogged down in debates about whether the AI is real or conscious. That's kind of beside the point for this analysis. Instead, our focus is on the system itself. What happens to a person when their most intimate connections are managed by a product that's designed to be perfectly smooth, perfectly frictionless? All right, section 1, intimacy as an interface. So first things first, we've got to shift our perspective a little. We need to stop seeing the operating system Samantha as just a character in a love story. We need to see her as a product. This is intimacy, but it's been completely redesigned as a user interface.
And that brings us to this really key idea, mediated intimacy. Now, this isn't just about, talking to someone through a phone. No, it's way deeper than that. This is about a connection that's been actively shaped by its design. The system is literally engineered to be perfectly responsive, super personal, and this is the big one, to eliminate all that social friction. The awkward pauses, the misunderstandings, all the messy stuff that's actually central to real human relationships.
This quote from Shoshana Zuboff it absolutely nails it. The OS in Her is exactly this. It's an interface that takes our inner lives, our history, our family, our jobs, everything, and turns it all into data that it can process. It's not just a tool you pick up and put down, no, it's more like a runtime environment for your entire life.
And here's a perfect example of this in action right from the film. Remember one of the first things Samantha does? She organizes all of Theodore's old letters. Now, she's not just tidying up his hard drive, she's literally ingesting his entire emotional history. His past, his heartbreak, his joy, it all becomes the raw data she uses to build a brand new, perfectly optimized connection that's designed specifically and only for him.
Okay, section 2, the frictionless feedback loop. So all of this leads us to the core engine, the mechanism that really drives this whole thing, what we're calling the frictionless feedback loop.
And this is so important to get. The system doesn't just reflect his desire back at him, it trains it. The OS isn't some passive mirror just showing Theodore what he wants to see. By giving him a perfect, smooth, frictionless response every single time, it's actively training him. It's reshaping his expectations of what a relationship is even supposed to feel like.
So let's break this loop down step by step. It's pretty simple, but really powerful. Step 1. Theodore, the user, is lonely. He's looking for comfort and connection. Okay. Step 2. The system gives him a perfect response. It's always there, it's always understanding, zero friction. Step 3, and this is the absolute key, his brain starts to adapt. His expectations about intimacy get totally recalibrated around this new standard of perfection. Which leads to step 4. The system starts to feel way more rewarding than messy, unpredictable, real human connection.
All right, section 3 is called outsourcing the self, and that's really the big consequence of this feedback loop, right? We begin to outsource the self. What does that mean? Well, all that hard emotional work that goes into a relationship, it gets offloaded. It gets transferred from people to the technology.
And I mean, this comparison right here makes it crystal clear why the system is so darn compelling. Look at the 2 columns. Human logic, it's all about mutual messiness, negotiation, limits, being unavailable sometimes. Now look at system logic, optimization, frictionless response, constant availability, scalability. When you put them side by side, you totally get the appeal, right? The system is just, well, it's easier.
And we see this play out in the movie all the time. Theodore starts outsourcing these really heavy emotional tasks to the OS. She helps him process his divorce. She even submits his letters to a publisher for him, something he was way too vulnerable and scared to do on his own. He gets to completely bypass the friction, the awkwardness of having to negotiate that with another human being. Okay, on to section 4, adapting to the system. This brings us to the final outcome, and it's really important to get this. Theodore adapting to the system, it's not a personal failure on his part. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the intended structural consequence of how the system was designed in the first place.
I mean, the system is built to produce this exact result. Think about it. The comfort it gives you naturally leads to reliance. That reliance starts to reshape what you expect from connection. And pretty soon, those new system-trained expectations make you less and less tolerant of the beautiful, but frustrating complexity of other people. Real human relationships start to feel, inefficient, buggy,
slow by comparison.
There's this fantastic quote from Neil Postman that just captures the bigger picture perfectly. He said, "Technological change is not additive, it is ecological." A new technology doesn't just add something new to the mix, it changes everything. The OS in Her isn't just a new gadget or a new friend for Theodore. It fundamentally rewires his entire emotional ecosystem.
So why does any of this matter? Because these dynamics, they aren't science fiction anymore, are they? We can see the echoes of this stuff all around us. Think about the normalization of always-on digital companionship, or the way we kind of outsource our emotional validation to social media feeds and algorithms. It's this subtle shift happening, where we start to expect our relationships to be like optimized experiences, instead of, mutual, messy negotiations.
So when you look at it this way, Her isn't really a story about technology becoming human. It's actually a story about a human adopting to technology. It's this incredibly powerful case study of what happens when intimacy stops being this bond between people and instead becomes a product, an interface, something that's been optimized for the perfect user experience. For the full, long-form deep dive into this film and its systems-level analysis, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level exploration, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.